Welcome back for another top-notch video. This week, guys, we're going to be making the ostrich, or if it's a little bit bigger, it's going to be called the MOA. Now, the MOA was an extinct flightless bird that lived in New Zealand. It was related to the ostrich or emu. Went extinct quite a while ago. The really interesting thing about this MOA was it was a giant bird, like 10 feet tall, so it was like the mother of all birds. So let's move right into it, guys. For this video today, what we're going to be needing is a pencil, pizza cutter, ruler, X-Acto knife, some glue, cutting board, and of course some construction paper, which I have right here. When making this bird, guys, it's pretty giant. Now, if you want to make it smaller, that's totally up to you. You just make your pattern a lot smaller. It doesn't even fit into the entire screen of my camera. So, the really cool thing with this bird is it does look 3D because you got this 3D effect down here. And it's going to be a little bit different than our patterns in the past. So, going into it, what I'm going to do is show you what my pattern. Now, with this pattern, it's so big, I couldn't even fit it on a note card, so this is what I have. Now, why it looks so interesting is because our leg is actually down below here. As you can see, it's got a connection here. It's not actually connected to the body. So that makes it one of our more interesting projects for this week. Now, like I said, this is a larger project, so just keep that in mind. If you want to make yours smaller, you're more than welcome to. This is more like MOAB size, like the mother of all birds size. To give you an idea, this thing goes from 1 centimeter all the way to 23 centimeters, so it's pretty big. The body itself is 5 centimeters. The leg width is 3 centimeters. The leg itself is about 8.5 centimeters. My extension from leg to the body is 2 centimeters. My neck to head is going to be about 7 centimeters. Now, like I said, you can just, and then the body from the body to the head, I don't know if I said that one or not, that's 15 centimeters. So, like I said, you guys can make it smaller or bigger, depending on your size. A smaller one would probably be the size of an ostrich. The larger one would be the size of a MOAB, or the mother of all birds, as I like to call it. Typically, they were a predator, these MOABs, so really interesting to look them up and see what they did. So, with making the MOAB, we're going to have to do some folds as well, so keep that in mind. We have a fold here on the leg, fold on the upper leg here, and one fold on the neck, so quite easy in regards to folds. Moving right into making it, the way I like to start is I like to start on the bottom of my MOAB or ostrich. And let's just get right into it. So moving down, we're going to come down to sort of like a cone point at the bottom, and that'll be the back side of the MOAB. And then we're going to move right up on the other side so that you sort of have like a cone. Now it's very important that the one side of the cone is on the very edge of your paper. And then moving into the extension of the leg, we're going to go up just a little bit past that cone point. So you see that right there. Now you got to be very careful with that because that's going to be critical later on. Then we go down into the extension and into the leg. Now the leg is like just like a chicken drum almost. I like to think of it as. Right about midway, you want to jut in just a tad for its Achilles, and then jut back out again. And then when you move into the foot, you got to have a pretty big base of this foot because you want it to stand up on its own. Okay. So as you can see, I'm making a pretty decent base with that foot of mine. And then back up into the chicken drum. Okay. And that completes the leg. Okay. Then moving back into the extension, that's just straight up into the body. And then the body we kind of push out just a tad into the neckline. Now the neckline is kind of large, so keep that in mind. Like I said, if you guys want to make it smaller, you're more than be my guest to do so. We move the neck into the head, and the head's a small little cone jutting out and then up, and then bringing the back of the head down into the edge of the paper line, until you run out of room. And then the only thing you have to really remember and keep in mind is you want to have space for his back so that he has a nice jut out with his back. As you can see on mine here, that is the jut I have. So to do that, you're going to make a line right here. And that is the jut you want right there. Now, again, with mine, we have some fold lines, some really easy ones. So right here at the bottom of the leg, you're going to make a fold line here, make that a dotted line, and a fold line here, make that a dotted line. Now that comes to the very edge of this. It doesn't come to this intersection here. You want it to come to this point up here. And like I said, that's critical for later on. Finally, you have two more fold lines to make, one going into the neckline here. And this will determine the positioning of your emu's head, or I'm sorry, MOA's head, or the ostrich's head. So just make a dotted line there. When that's complete, it should look something like this, okay? Now, with this, like I said, I'm going to say this over and over again. Just make sure that if you want yours smaller, go ahead and do so. It's just the same exact pattern. It's just going to be smaller. So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut this out. And when you cut this out, you're going to want to start up here with the neck, and you're going to want to come towards you. And I want to push nice and firm down on the neck. And you're just going to rotate the body with your swivel knife or X-Acto knife all the way around. Careful with the beak. And you're just going to keep rotating that until you have the entire thing cut out. Once you have the entire thing cut out, it's going to look something like this here. Now, you're probably wondering why I didn't do this on a note card. I don't know if I stated it earlier, but my MOAB is the mother of all birds. It's so big I couldn't even fit it on one of my note cards, so I just had to use a regular piece of paper. That'll work, but it's just going to be a little more flimsy, so just make sure you keep that in mind, okay? I put my fold lines on here, so I got my fold line here, here, and two on the neck, and then I also put one on the legs. And the reason I have one on the legs is, as you can see on mine, it gives it a little bit more definition, and it'll help it stiffen the legs to have it stand a little bit better. Okay? So then once you have it on here, your next step is to move to the construction paper. With the construction paper, you're going to want to take your construction paper and go ahead and just fold that right in half, okay? And when you fold it in half, you're going to put your pattern up here. You're going to want to make sure that the bottom of the MOAB or ostrich is right on the line there, and the neck is right on the line there, okay? And then you are just going to go ahead and trace that, okay, in the same fashion that we did it earlier. So just starting at the bottom here, moving along the entire MOAB all the way up to the head and to the back, and then finally into this very critical back piece here. And when you get all that said and done, you will have your pattern, okay? I have it here, but it's kind of hard to see, so what I did is I did it in black for you guys, okay? So as you can see, we have the bottom here, the leg, the body, the head, and then the extension. And just make sure you watch your fold lines, and just make sure you have this one in the leg, like I mentioned, this one here, and these two up here, okay? With these fold lines, as you can tell, they're all pretty good. The one on the neck is about, from the very top of the head to the first fold line is about 6.5 centimeters, so that's where you want to kind of have it. And if you need a ruler, go ahead and use a ruler to make those fold lines, okay? So moving next, we're going to cut this out. With cutting out the MOAB, it's important that you put a lot of pressure and you're cutting toward yourself to get a good cut to get this MOAB out, okay? And like I said, I kind of start from the head. It's better if you have the knife go towards you instead of away. Makes the cut a little bit easier. And like I said, just a real good firm pressure, guys, all right? And with that firm pressure, you're just going to continue to go down the MOAB or ostrich. Once again, guys, make sure you're putting a good down pressure on this MOAB or ostrich. Once you got the whole thing, once you think you got it all cut out on here, right here, make sure you guys do it right up to that line in here. That's really important on this. Once you guys think you have it all cut out, go ahead and just try to pop it out. It might not pop out very well at first. If that's the case, you can flip to the back side and do any lines you need to there. I would suggest not doing it in marker. That way you can go back and re-erase your lines later. So the next step you want to do is you're going to want to take your pizza cutter and you're going to want to go over those lines. Really important that you put a good pressure on these as you go over, but not so much to where you break it off. Okay, this one here, you're going to go all the way up to that little line there. Get a good fold. All right, this just gives those fold lines a good crease. Try not to do multiple lines, try to do only one. And once again, this takes patience. And the final one is for your feet. That is going to have him stand. Okay, so that's what we have there, guys. This is the flat version. Now, to give it the 3D effect, we're going to have to go in here and start creasing our lines. So the first line you're going to want to do is the neckline. Make sure you put the crease on both sides of the neck. There's one, there's two, and by doing this, it'll make the folds easier to when we do the actual head. You're going to want to push, when you get to the head, you're going to want to push in with that, inward and downward, and that'll give you the head. And as you can see, pretty good neckline right there. It's pretty flush, and it gives it a little bit of a 3D effect. Now with the legs, that one's pretty easy too. You're going to fold these legs back, just like so. And once you have them folded back, you're going to fold the actual chicken drum leg up, okay, like so. And that's the legs on the outside. Now, some people like to do the legs on the outside. I don't think it looks as good. So you can, at this point, if you wanted to, you could glue the back half of your legs there, and that would be the legs on the outside of your bird. Some people like this for the ostrich, so you could do it that way. I prefer to do them on the inside, like I said earlier, and here's what mine looks like versus this one on the outside. So this one's, if we put them down here, so it's whatever you guys want or prefer. It's up to you guys, but I'm going to show you how to do them on the inside. So to do them on the inside, the next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to fold them in reverse fold, both legs, just like that, inside the actual bird. And as you can see now that they're in the bird, you can push that all down. And that gets you your bird. The next thing you want to do is take your legs and out crease them a little bit, giving them some stiffness. Okay. On both sides. And then one of the very last pieces you guys need to do to complete your MOA or ostrich is the gluing, okay? With the glue, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to glue a very, very small portion on the head up here, very top of the head, and then just hold that down. If you're using super glue, it shouldn't take more than 15 to 20 seconds. Elmer's maybe 20 minutes. And then once that's done, you're going to come to the back of the ostrich. You're going to put just a very tiny dot on the very tip of the tail. This is very important if you want to have structure to your bird. So just a tiny, tiny bit to the very tip of the tail. And then finally, on the inside of your bird, As you can see the leg there, you're going to do a little bit on the back of the leg right here, just a dab, and then a little bit on, okay, and then you're going to hold that leg against your actual bird for about 20 seconds with super glue, 20 minutes with the actual thing, and if you want you can use clothespins or something to hold that down. And you're going to do the exact same thing on the other leg, okay? A little bit of glue on the back side here, and a little bit of glue on the extension right up here. Once again, you're going to push those in, and you're going to do them to they're not going to be glued together, they're going to be separate, okay, to each side. And once you have that all glued, your product should look something like this here, okay? And as you can see, you got some good 3D effect here. You got the legs here, which looks really good. And then, of course, the head and the neck. If you do it right, just pull it apart just a tad, and it should even be able to stand. And that's basically what your bird will look like when you're finished with it. Once again, this was the MOAB, or the mother of all birds, as I like to refer to it, or the ostrich. If you want it smaller, just make it. If you want an ostrich, just make it a little bit smaller. But really appreciate you guys watching this video today. Go ahead and like, subscribe, or share it. Really appreciate your support, and we'll see you guys next time for another top-notch video.